Well, this is it. The final chance for any dirt modified drivers to make it into today's Miller High Life 300. Carl Van Horn, driver of car number 71E, a long-time runner here at Syracuse, knows this track. Frank Jashimbowski, sophomore dirt modified driver. Joe Gertie, sprint car champion in car number 3J. The 2G of Mitch Gibbs and a number of other stars are trying to get into this Miller High Life 300, and they're all going out to try and win this race. We talked with a few drivers about today's non-qualifiers event.
Jeff Hessler, what a difference a year makes. Last year you're on the front row, and this year you're in the Consi. It's been a tough week.
Yeah, it sure has. We've been having some problems with this Ford power plant. Nothing major really with the motors, but we had a tachometer happened to short the magneto out, so that dropped us out of one race. Rocker arm broke, which was probably my fault adjusting the valves. It's really no problem with the Ford motor. It's just been it's been our problem.
What's the game plan? How do you get through this much traffic to try to make the feature?
Well, the biggest thing is win it or wall it right now. You know, we got to get in. We got major sponsorship behind us. We got a lot of people here. We spent a lot of time to get here. So whatever it takes, we'll get in the race, believe me.
Is it depressing to have done so well last year and to be on the edge of not making it this year?
Well, in a way, yes. What happened, we had all the glory all during the week last year and then bombed out on race day, both races. Now this year, all week, we've been really struggling, so maybe it'll turn around. Maybe we'll come away with the big one like Allen did last year.
Maybe so. Jeff Hetzler, Andy Fusco, Tom Skabinski back here at Syracuse. It's a new day, but the same weather. Temperature in the low 80s, absolutely beautiful clear skies. This is the non-qualifiers race for the Miller 300, but it's more like an all-star event. Fuzzy Van Horn, C.D. Coville, Tommy Hager, Tommy Corellis, Jimmy Bigelow, Mike Romano, and New Jersey standout Kenny Bren.
Car here, but you may not make the main event. Syracuse can do some strange things.
Yeah, we qualified real good on Wednesday. Then Friday morning, we blew the motor in warm-ups, changed the motor, went out in the heat race, running third. Real comfortable third-place spot, coasting along. The ignition coil let go on the car. This place don't like me at all.
You always have a history of running well here. Now what's the game plan from the non-qualifiers race to try to make the 300?
Let it all hang out. Nothing else we can do. We got to start from the back because actually we were 2 laps down. We went back out and finished the heat, but we were 2 laps down, so we have to start way back in the non-qualifiers. We're just going to have to go for it.
A lot of guys are going to be going for it today. Tom Skabinski, your thoughts before the green.
Well, Andy, traditionally the 20-lap non-qualifiers race features a lot of rookie drivers, but this year it's a mixed bag. You got a lot of veterans like you named out before. Tommy Corellis, the all-time Lebanon Valley feature winner, along with a past fair champion. Jimmy Bigelow, a top Canadian runner, 1983 modified rookie of the year. He's accompanied by C.D. Coville, Tommy Hager, and Carl Van Horn, a 58-year-old veteran of the Moody Mile. This should be a great race for the fans. I'm sure this is like a mini feature they'd see any Saturday night at their local track.
Yeah, there isn't a promoter who wouldn't like to be promoting this one on a weekly basis. 31 starters, 31 tails of wool, either in this race and not in the Miller 300 already. None more so than Tommy Corellis.
Tommy Corellis, vicious crash in preliminaries. What happened there?
Well, we started 28th in that race, and we had to get up to the top 10 to qualify. And I was just about halfway, and I moved up on the front stretch. I was running 11th. I went down a back chute. I got up to 8th, and I was happy with that spot. And all of a sudden, something happened up in front of me, and I saw a chance to pick up a couple more spots. And so now I'm 6th, and as I passed the cars that were crashed, a tire come rolling out of the infield like, and it flopped right down in front of me and just airborne me.
What is it with you in turn 3 here at Syracuse?
Well, I don't really want to say it's got any, you know, it's a jinx to me because I don't feel like the track's a jinx to me. I feel like I can run here. I just don't have lady luck with me, that's all.
18 of the 19 years they've had this race, you've been in the field. What do you got to do today to make it?
Well, I'm going to have to give it everything I got, and I'm hoping that I can run up there to get qualified, and if I can come within striking zone of 1 or 2, very possible I can get a press vote and get myself in.
Well, there'll be no press vote this year. Glenn Donnelly's just announced that he'll be doing away with that, much to Tommy Corellis' chagrin. You know, some people are saying that Tommy's felt some butterflies from that crash over there in turns 3 and 4, but he looks pretty lucid in that interview. Here's the starting lineup for this one, 20 laps. The top 8 finishers will go into the Miller 300. Front row, rookies at Syracuse, Jimmy Chester and Mark Kenyon. Second row, Jim Chinette and Mike Jeffrey. The third row, Fuzzy Van Horn and Eric Gall. Row 4, Frank Jarzembowski and Jimmy Bigelow. Row 5, Mitch Gibbs and Joe Gertie. Row 6, Chuck McKee and Guy Howie. Row 7, C.D. Colville and Gary Waters. Row 8, Mike Romano and Billy Wilson. Row 9, Don Marcial and Kenny Bren Jr. Row 10, Stevie Roberts and Sean George. Row 11, Gary Napolitano and Phil Beaver. Row 12, Bobby Hummer and Richie Tobias Jr. Row 13, Bobby Payne and Matt Waite. Row 14, Scott Kanya and Billy Van Pelt. Row 15, Tommy Hager and Bobby Kraus. And bringing up the tail, the last row only has one car. That's Jeff Hetzler. Yesterday, Tom Skibinski, we saw a cushion developing. Will we see the same thing today?
I think you will, Andy. There's only been a couple hot laps so far today. There's been a few holes developing in the middle of the track that's going to force some of the drivers either to hang low or try it up on the high side. We'll wait to see the green flag and see where some of the drivers choose to go.
Good point, Tom. If it's rough down on the inside, the outside may be faster for no other reason. It's the smooth way around the mile. Gaston has the green flag out. The field charging down. Already they're 4 wide on the green. And the Miller 300 non-qualifier 20-lap consolation race is underway. The field charges into turn number 1. That's Jimmy Chester. In position number 1, Mark Kenyon dogging him for second. Richie Tobias up there between turn 1 and 2. He's 4 wide. Tobias already flying to the front, Tommy.
Richie Tobias Jr. started in 24th position. He's already broken in close to the top 15, and that's just half a lap. He's going 3 and 4 wide around turns 1 and 2. Those are turns that most drivers say we don't want to go too wide even.
And there was Tobias up almost against the wall. There he got a little behind Eric Gall in that red number 41. He lost a position or 2 there, but it looks like he already made 8 spots on lap number 1. And there's Joe Gertie on the outside of row number, well, that's about position number 8. Gertie started way back in the 10th starting position. Already he's up about 3 or 4 positions higher, and now he's got some problems coming to a coast on the outside of turn number 2. That's not Gertie, that is, Tom?
Jimmy Bigelow, number 16, the Canadian driver from Thorold, Ontario.
Interesting to see Gertie go to the high side. Some of the sprint car drivers were doing that with a great deal of success yesterday. Of course, Gertie had his sprint car in the top 5 most of the afternoon, so he knows that there's a cushion there, something that's very rare here at Syracuse. Another guy who we'd have to expect to go to the high side early would be their C.D. Colville. Gaston's got the yellow. I don't see what the problem is out on the racetrack. Oh, there it is. It's for the car that came to a halt there in turn number 2, Bigelow's number 16. We thought that he'd be able to pull off of turn number 2 and get the car safely to the infield, but obviously the car has got installed along the outside there, and the field has now been slowed down. Some surprises right off the bat, Tom. This looks like a Saturday night race. Guys going high, wide, and handsome.
A lot of people may be unfamiliar with number 82. That's Jimmy Chester. He's a rookie here at the Moody Mile, but he's holding consistent on the pole position. Another interesting factor, Toby Tobias Jr., 13th position after 2 complete laps. He started in 24th position. We'll have to keep an eye on the young Tobias racer out of West Lebanon, PA.
Yeah, Mike Jeffrey is now 3rd. Fuzzy Van Horn is 4th. Jarzembowski is 5th. Bigelow had been running in 6th position. That'll move Chinette up to 6th position now. Absolutely amazing, the beautiful weather we've had here at Super Dirt Week 1990 this year. Usually it's cold and rainy, and this year has been anything but. Every single day has been a carbon copy of the one before. 70, 80 degrees, crystal clear. The only rain we really did have was on the 2nd day of the event back on Thursday, but today, Sunday, has been just like every other day other than that Thursday event. It's absolutely beautiful. Gaston has the green flag out, and already they're charging back down to the green. Jimmy Chester leads the field. Mark Kenyon comfortably in 2nd place. The field charges now 4 wide into turns number 1, and there's Tobias on the high side. His father won this race back, I believe it was in 1975 or so. His father died, of course, tragically in a sprint car accident back in 1979 at the Flemington Fairgrounds Speedway. I mean, his father didn't win this particular race. His father won the Schaefer 100, it was called back in those days. That was the predecessor for the Miller 300. There's Tobias on the top side, obviously having his way with the field right now, having no trouble just driving around people. And what an impressive performance. The grandstand's eyes and our cameras are glued on Richie Tobias. This is impressive indeed this early in the going. There's Billy Wilson going to the top side. He doesn't have as much luck. Chuck McKee also trying the top side. He doesn't have much luck. C.D. Colville darts under both of them to pick up position. Colville now challenging Mitch Gibbs, but McKee dives around C.D. Colville, and we've got passing all around the Syracuse mile. This is probably the most action I've seen in Syracuse. Here's Bobby Payne. He's come to a halt now inside of turn number 4. I didn't see the incident that caused that, but he's now pulling his car safely to the infield. Unfortunately, the yellow will come out. Payne, one of the regular runners at the Canandaigua Ontario County Fairgrounds Speedway, Tom, that you cover on a weekly basis for the Democrat and Chronicle and the Canandaigua Messenger.
Yeah, Bobby Payne, the second half of the Payne tandem there. Older brother Steve, the 1990 track champion at the Ontario County Fairgrounds. He came through in the last evening of point event, finished at 9th, but Danny and Alan Johnson finished farther back.
Toby Tobias now up in 3rd position. Now remember, he started way back in 24th position. That means he's passed 21 cars, and I think we only have 4 laps officially in the book. This is one of the most outstanding performances I've ever seen at Syracuse. Syracuse, usually dry, hard, tough to pass on. Not so today. There's a cushion on the outside. It's a little bit rough on the inside. There's at least 2 or 3 lanes of racing. Richie Tobias has gotten it done by making a 4th lane way high on the outside. He's looking a little like Darlington here, running way up along the wall. Richie Tobias already electrifying this capacity grandstand. Probably about 40,000 people on the grounds today, at least 20,000 in the grandstand, and I would say just as many on the infield. The infield is absolutely packed with campers and tents and people on their campers watching this event. You couldn't squeeze another person in this fairgrounds with a shoehorn. Probably an all-time record crowd here for Syracuse, and of course, Tom, the weather's got a lot to do with that one.
Andy, this Super Dirt Week, normally characteristic 40-degree weather, but today the sun's out. High of 83 degrees already here at the Moody Mile.
Tobias now up into the top 3. It'll be, oh, trouble in turn number 3. There's a jingle. And like lemmings, they pile in one after another, and this is an unfortunate event. This is the second time in as many years that we've seen a pileup like this in turn 3 at Syracuse. Last year it was in the Miller 300 feature. This year it's in the non-qualifiers race. It looks to be about 20 cars there involved, and most of them aren't able to pull away. Tom, what's the problem with turn 3? Why do we see this so often at Syracuse?
Not only we thought there was going to be about 30 cars starting this event, but promoter Glenn Donnelly added a couple more, 36 cars starting, each wanting to get to the front fast. There's only 20 laps to go in this race, and only 8 spots open for this afternoon's Miller 300. I'm sure everybody wants to get that extra jump. This is just one turn that no one's been able to handle yet.
Tobias has pulled in the pits. We don't know what the problem is, but it appears to be some type of tire problem. He's signaling wildly to his crew. He's even lifted up his helmet, so there's no mistake about what he wants. It looks like there's something with the left front, Tom.
Yeah, it looks like he's not sure of what tire he wants, but he's telling a crew member right now. This is the second chance he's had to find what kind of tire he wants on the left front. Crew members right now don't know what exactly he wants, but one of the crew members finally went over and talked to him directly.
Probably what they're doing here is they're changing the type of pony tire that they would normally run on the right front. Usually you're going to run something that doesn't have much circumference because the left front, I said the right front, I meant the left front, usually doesn't touch the ground when they're three-wheeling on a Saturday night or a Sunday night track. Here at Syracuse, the strategy is very different. You usually have all 4 wheels tightly to the racetrack, but the way Tobias is running today, looks like he wants a Saturday night setup for a Sunday afternoon event.
Andy, interesting, you see he's pulled off his helmet. He wants to tell his crewman directly what he wants. I think he wants a tire from the Lotier stall. That's kind of interesting. You got Paul Lotier, a brother-in-law to Toby Jr., already qualified for the Miller 300. Brothers Alan and Danny Johnson, brothers Mark and Matt Quinn, and the father and son tandem of Dave and Lou Blaney. This is interesting to have the chance to work with a brother-in-law. Paul Lotier already qualified, of course, for this afternoon's Miller 300.
The tires changed. Tobias goes back out to the racetrack. He'll have to restart in rear. Let's take a look at a replay of what happened up there in turn number 3. Tobias noses under Kenyon and then into the inside guardrail. That's how the tire went flat. Jazenbowski there in the white 88 either spins to avoid the fracas in front of him or gets help from behind, and that just sets off a chain reaction. There's Kenny Hansen and 13 others up there in turn number 3. Joining Brian Spade as our pit reporter today is Terry Rumsey. Terry's down into the Tobias crew with that tire story.
Well, we had our set of left front tires. He wanted one of Paul's, so he wanted a small one on. We didn't know. We put our smallest left front we had on. That's what he wanted. That's what we had, but he apparently he wanted one of Paul's. That's what the confusion was.
Did you lose a lap?
I don't think so. I think I got a red out.
You think you can catch him out in with a few laps left?
Hopefully the motor's running pretty good. He should be able to. We'll find out.
Well, there's the carnage up in turn number 3. That's Chris Tuttle's number 7M. McKee 702. He's pulling away down the inside. There's Tommy Hager's number 43. In all, about 13 cars still parked up there, Tom. And year after year, we see these crashes in turn number 3 at Syracuse.
It's something interesting. There's not only accidents in turn 3, but they all happen to come about on restarts. Just that every driver is searching for that edge here at the Moody Mile. It's something, when you get a chance, you want to go for it.
Yeah, organizer Glenn Donnelly has reformed the restarts for the Miller 300. They'll be single file, but these preliminary races, they're still double file. That, unfortunately, can be the result. Brian Spade is with Mike Romano at the accident scene.
Mike, such a disappointing week at Syracuse for you. What do you think, what happened here today?
I don't know. It was just one of them deals where somebody got crossed up way up front and the track is all blocked.
Is this it? Is this the end of it for you?
Yep, long.
A despondent Mike Romano. There's Guy Howie's car being pulled off the Romano number 97. And Tom, you can't blame Romano for being bummed out about this one.
It's just been a bad week all the way through for Mike Romano. Time trials on Wednesday. He was in the top 6 most of the day. Then he finally got bumped out near the back of the afternoon. Then on Friday with the triple 20s, he smoked a little bit. And then the Winners Classic, also Friday evening. Boy, just up in smoke there. It's just been a bad week all the way around for the 1990 track champion at Fonda Speedway.
And it's tough when you prepare all year long for a race like Syracuse and it all comes to an end before you've even made the main event. Tough, tough break for the Romano family. Tough break for Mike Romano. Well, the field is getting ready to restart. This will be the starting lineup when the cars take the green. Jimmy Chester is going to be on the pole. Mark Kenyon still outside pole. Mike Jeffrey is in 3rd place now. Fuzzy Van Horn is 4th, Mitch Gibbs is 5th, C.D. Colville is 6th, and Kenny Brenn is in 7th. Billy Wilson is in 8th place. Richie Smith is in 9th. Joe Gertie is back to 10th place. He lost a couple of spots in that jingle. Up to 11th is Sean George. Now get this, Jeff Hetzler, because he was one of the first cars to be able to pull away from the accident scene, is in 12th place. That gives you an idea just how many cars were involved in that crash. Jim Chinette is 13th, and also to give you an idea how many cars were involved in that crash, Richie Tobias restarts in 14th position. Everybody else behind Tobias was in the crash. He was able to pull out of the pits and drive around them. He'll be restarting in 14th position, and Tobias has electrified this capacity crowd already here at Syracuse.
Andy, you were asking before what kind of grooves there will be. There are definitely the groove down low. That's where most of the cars tend to go. But up high is where Richie Tobias has decided to go. He's been passing 2 or 3 cars in every turn. That's been going on for the first 5 laps. We're coming up for the lap 6 restart.
Yes, Gaston has already shown them the white. They know they're going to be restarted when they come out of turn number 4, and the field is already under green. Chester back to the point. He's got the lead. Kenyon is 2nd. Van Horn is 3rd, and Tobias flying on the outside, charging down the front straightaway. Tobias is already by 3 cars before they cross the stripe. Richie Tobias doing a yeoman's job. There's C.D. Colville. He's also going to the top side of the speedway. He drives around Fuzzy Van Horn. He now puts the challenge on the Kenyon number 17, C.D. Colville, who's made a career out of going to the high side. Now sees that's the way to get the job done. Very well might what have happened here in the Hauser crew. They told him, hey, look, there's a fast groove on the outside. During that restart, they probably communicated with their driver to go to the top side, and there's the top side driver himself, Richie Tobias. He's now by Van Horn. No, he's not by Van Horn. Van Horn shuts the door as they come down the front straightaway, but Tobias stays up in the outside in turn number 1. They're 4 wide, or 2 by 2, going through turns number 1 and 2. Into turn number 2, Colville goes by Kenyon. Tobias goes by Van Horn. And now the field charges down the back straightaway. We've got a yellow, though, on the speedway. The field is coming to a halt. Tommy, what's the problem?
Well, the second yellow flag. Tommy Hager spinning out in turn number 2. The veteran Pennsylvania campaigner looks to be out of action for the 20-lap non-qualifier. If there were any questions of whether there's more than one groove here at the Moody Mile, I think they were answered in that last restart. C.D. Colville going from 6th to 3rd place. Toby Tobias, once again using the outside. He jumped from 14th to 10th spot, and now I think he's in close to the top 5. less than halfway through the 20-lap non-qualifiers race.
Another one of the rim riders, Joe Gertie, restarted that event in 10th position. He's up to 7th. So the guys that used the outside on that restart, Colville, Tobias, and Gertie, really getting the job done. Now a lot of juxtapositions in positions right now because drivers are determining where the passes were made. Was the yellow out or not when Colville and Tobias made their moves? And there's a little 4 wide action. We've seen a lot of that, Tommy, but not on restarts.
There's Tommy Hager picking up speed. We'll see if he picks up the back of the pack. Once again, I mentioned it's less than the halfway point here. And in first place, Jimmy Chester, once again, C.D. Colville moving into the top 3. Richie Tobias now in 6th place, getting set for the restart. Mike Jeffrey, a bad break on that restart. Some cars, most of them move forward. Mike Jeffrey dropping from 3rd spot all the way back to 8th position.
Tobias there riding on the outside, waiting to be told where to fall in. We've got 8 laps down. There'll be 12 laps to go when the green comes back out, but it won't come out on this lap. They're going to have to reorganize. Tobias is 17. You can see the air dam underneath the front nose piece flapping in the breeze a little bit. That's not at all unexpected. We expected to see a lot of that here today because of the rough track conditions. It's body panels and body pans that are going to suffer as a result, Tom. Gaston now down on the racetrack. He'll tell the drivers where to fall in, and this is not the kind of thing where the drivers are intentionally giving the organizers a hard time. They really don't know exactly when the yellows come out and where they are on the racetrack, and they need to be told. The scorers have now relayed that information to Gaston. He's related it now down on the racetrack to Van Horn and Tobias and Colville, and now those drivers will be falling hopefully into position and will be able to get a restart. Any surprises thus far, Tom?
Well, I don't think there's any surprises except for that outside groove. Some of these fans have thought of Syracuse as a 1-lane track, especially for the 20-lap non-qualifiers race. But today, Tobias and Colville putting on the show, showing their experience here at the Moody Mile.
The track promoters here, the organizers, the track crew did a yeoman's job. As you'll remember earlier in this tape, we looked at yesterday's, Saturday's events. The track was in awfully rough condition at the conclusion of yesterday's events. But here today, it's in pretty good shape. It's not up to Syracuse snuff by usual standards, but it's not bad. Unfortunately, it will probably deteriorate as the day goes on. Gaston has out the green. The field's back under power. Tobias back to the high side. Now a number of other drivers following Tobias's lead. They're going to the top of the mile. One of those, C.D. Colville, blasts by Kenyon, is now into 2nd place. He'll be dogging Jimmy Chester, but right behind him on the outside, Tobias now gets back around Van Horn. He puts the challenge to Kenyon. Down the back straightaway they go. Kenyon in the 17, Tobias in the 17. 17 fever here on the racetrack with 9 down and 11 to go in the non-qualifiers race for the 1990 Miller 300. Chester still on the front side and has the lead. C.D. Colville is 2nd, but the real battle on the racetrack now for 3rd. Tobias drives around Kenyon, and we have a new 3rd place runner, Toby Tobias Jr. Colville on the outside. Tobias now looking for a way around Colville. Colville's got his groove. Tobias right there looking for the action. Meanwhile, Jimmy Chester in the catbird seat. He's not able to drive away. Tobias underneath Colville. We have a new 2nd place runner. Now Tobias setting his sights dead on Jimmy Chester. Meanwhile, back in the back of the pack, there's our wall or win man, Jeff Hetzler. He sat on the outside pole for last year's Miller 300, and now he's struggling just to get that Diet Pepsi number 74, the Ford-powered modified, into the field. Right now he has it into the field, but up front there's a lead change. Toby Tobias Jr. drives around Jimmy Chester as they dive into turn number 1. A new leader at the halfway mark here of the non-qualifiers event. And Tom Skabinski, what a charge by Toby Tobias.
I'm sure the fans are just in disbelief here, but it's been fun kind of pinpointing Richie Tobias' move toward the front. You can kind of look where he's been. He's been passing a couple cars every lap. He was into 13th after starting 24th. That'd be just 2 laps. 1 lap later, Tobias moved to number 17 into 7th spot. Lap 5, he was in the top 3. Then he pitted for that left front flat tire during the red flag situation, and he retook the back of the pack, and that was 14th after nearly half the field was knocked out. On the restart, lap number 7, he jockeyed into 10th position. 1 lap later, 6th position, then 4th, and lap 10, 2nd, and then finally, lap 11, Tobias took his first lead in the 20-lapper. That's kind of fun to watch a guy pass here at Syracuse. I'm sure the fans are already excited for the Miller 300 coming up if the track stays in this type of condition, Andy.
And make no mistake about it, Jeff Hetzler's crew has radioed to their driver how Tobias did it by using the high side. Now Jeff Hetzler trying the same route to get his 74 into the Miller 300. Harry flies around Mitch Gibbs. Hetzler now up in the 5th position on the racetrack. Tobias passed 21 cars before pitting the first time. Then when he came back out, he passed 13 cars to get the lead. That's 34 cars that Tobias passed before the halfway mark of this race. Some guys go a whole season without passing 34 race cars.
I mean, it's got to be a record here, Andy, but it's interesting to listen to the crowd, a little buzzing going on. This is almost like the Hearn-McCready restarts in the Winners Classic. It's kind of fun having the fans involved this early in the morning. If we still got 188 laps to go later in the afternoon, I'm really looking forward to the Miller 300, Andy.
And I'll tell you what's great about seeing Tobias run the way he's running right now. The Pennsylvania cheers, the fans that cheer this event and support this event year in and year out, haven't had a whole lot to root about the last couple of years. This event is dominated by New Jersey and New York drivers the last couple of years, but now a Pennsylvania driver, Toby Tobias, has the lead in the non-qualifiers race, and he's turning laps right now faster than the drivers like McCready and Hearn turned in practice this morning. Toby Tobias could be one of the contenders when the 300 rolls out later this afternoon. Here's Hetzler now putting the challenge to Fuzzy Van Horn, and Van Horn has made a career of these Sunday non-qualifiers at Syracuse.
I think this is something the fans expect. You don't want to see Carl Fuzzy Van Horn qualify in time trials or in the triple 20s. You want to see him in the 20-lap non-qualifiers race. The fans, I think, are getting used to it. They want to pay to see him on Sunday morning.
Okay, Gaston had the yellow in his hand there briefly. Sean George's number 15 was slowing up between turn number 3 and 4, but he has been able to extricate the car from the speedway, so the field remains under green. Meanwhile, the challenge continues between Van Horn and Hetzler. Hetzler drives around him this time in turn number 1, but the Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, number 74, is smoking. That's a bad sign out of that Ford power plant. Hetzler, though, he told us in the pre-race interview he's going to go or blow. And right now he's got his foot to the pedal of the metal. There's no stopping Hetzler as he puts the challenge on a race rookie, Mark Kenyon, in that Caesars Resorts number 17.
Andy, a lot of people may be unfamiliar with that number 17 black Olsen vehicle, but Mark Kenyon's been a regular supporter of the Dirt Asphalt Challenge this year. He's going for points, obviously, today's race. He didn't qualify for the Asphalt Opener PIR, and he let Brett Hearn drive his car to a 3rd place finish at St. Air. He finished in 10th and 15th at Thompson and Cayuga, so he's looking for more points in the Dirt Asphalt Challenge, plus a little more experience here on the Moody Mile. He's almost in 3rd place right now.
Well, he's in 4th place. C.D. Coville is in 3rd. Chester is in 2nd. Tobias is in 1st. The field will get the 2 flag sign, 2 laps to go when they come right down now, but it looks like they're pretty satisfied to settle in where they're at. The battle on the racetrack back for the bubble position. Remember, the top 8 make the feature. Kenny Bren right now is 8th and Mike Jeffrey is 9th. That's the battle back in the back of the field. But right here, Hetzler drives around Kenyon. Hetzler didn't hear me. I said everybody was satisfied with their position, but not Jeff Hetzler.
Well, that's the inaugural winner of the National Auto Supply Small Block race here during Super Dirt Week. He won in 1980, also the 1984 Mr. Dirt Small Block. He's got a lot of experience running the open wheel cars here, and I'm sure he's looking to stay in the top 5 during the rest of the race. It's interesting, you mentioned before, Toby Tobias, one of the few Pennsylvanians. Actually, he's the only one in the top 8 qualified positions right now. You got an even mixture between New Jersey and New York, but Toby, the only Pennsylvanian, and he's leading this race.
And it's on his last lap. Now Toby Tobias challenging the lap car of Eric Gall. Coming down, he's got a huge lead, as you'll see there. Jimmy Chester not even into the picture. Gaston throws the checkers, and this is a popular win. Toby Tobias goes to the back twice, comes to the front, and wins the non-qualifiers race. For good measure there on his slowdown lap, he packs in the groove. Here's Hetzler. He ends up in 4th position. Chester and Coville are 2nd and 3rd. Mark Kenyon is 5th. Van Horn is 6th. Mitch Gibbs 7th. Kenny Bren did slide in there for 8th place. He did top Mike Jeffrey, who ends up a sad 9th. Joe Gertie, who went from 10th to 7th, ends up back in 10th. This was a pretty good one, Tom.
Yeah, it's nice to see Toby Tobias. I think his father might have been the last Tobias to take a checker flag here at the fairgrounds. I'm sure the fans will be wondering. There'll be a few tire changes, a new chassis setup, I'm sure, for the Miller 300, but the fans will be waiting to see how Toby does if he can rim ride in the Miller 300. Something like this has never been done before, but the fans will be waiting.
Tobias now driving the car over the scales. In baseball, it's not over till the fat lady sings. In racing, it's not over till the car weighs in legally. Tobias's number 17 has done just that. He's now the official winner of this one. Well, we talked about a lot of big names looking for a starting spot in the Miller 300 through this race. Several of the big names like Tobias and Coville and Hetzler and Van Horn and Bren, they made it. But an awful lot of big names like Gertie and Corellis and Romano and Hager and Bigelow didn't make it. Speaking of names, there's going to be a lot of surprise names in the Miller 300 later today, Tom. A lot of rookies in that starting lineup.
Well, Andy, I think this is a record for the race. 11 rookies getting into this field. The farthest starting rookie is John Ventura. He time trialed up top on Wednesday, then he finished high up in the triple 20 race. He's starting 18th, but there is a field of 11 rookies in the overall field of 48 cars here. It should be exciting. There's a lot of veterans, and we'll see how excited the rookies are. We'll see if they race hard every lap or they want to just get some track time. This will be a fun race to watch.
Changing of the guard, do you think, here at Syracuse?
I don't know about that. It's just neat to see a lot of new names. They said that dirt may be dying with the new drivers coming into the modified class, but this sure is different. There's definitely some new names, but the veterans, they'll be back.
Down to Brian Spade. He's with Richie Tobias in Victory Lane.
Rich, congratulations. Nice run.
Thank you. Thank you.
How is it out there? You had the flat tire and you came back right back through.
Yeah, there's nice cushion on the outside. For once, there's more than one groove here, I think. As long as the outside don't dry out, I think it'll be a good race.
Problems with the engine towards the end?
Not really. It's running a little hot. We're going through some things for the feature, put a little more fuel to it.
Well, he was running a little lean, but already he's a little richer. $1,000 richer, courtesy of the wheels, folks. Richie Tobias, a contender for the upcoming Miller 300. For Tom Skabinski, Terry Rumsey, Brian Spade, the entire Dirt Video crew, I'm Andy Fusco. Thanks for watching.